right, thank you for staying with Daybreak, and my guests are already with me in studio on the State of the Nation, where we discuss matters, politics, and everything in between. Here, Honorable Eddie Okate, Senator for Migori, is here. Honorable Godfrey Osotsi, Senator for Vihiga, is also here. Honorable Joe Newt will be joining us in just a moment, the Senator for Muranga, and Honorable Geoffrey Ruku, Member of Parliament from Mbeere North. We'd like to hear your views on everything that we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about the rankings of the county governors and the senators, and also talk about King Charles III's visit and the bipartisan talks and what the latest update really is on that. All right, so let's start off with the front page of the Daily Nation, which covers mostly what we're going to talk about. Poll, top senators and women reps. We see the approval ratings, 59, 60, 56% for Kamau Murango, Aaron Cheruiyot coming in at 56% as well. That's on the second ranking. But Godfrey Osotsi is here, and I'll start off with you. Godfrey Osotsi is coming in at number 9. They rated only 25 senators, not all of them. So I can see Joe Newt is also there, number 5. Both of them with us here. Honorable Godfrey, do you agree with this poll? Let's start with you, because you're ranked there at number 9.
First of all, good morning, Kenyans who are watching us this morning. I want to say two things about the polling. Number one is that I think it's important to conduct this kind of polling, because then it keeps us leaders on our toes to perform better and to serve Kenyans better. But on the other hand, I think it's important to have an element of objectivity and accuracy in conducting these polls. I think most of the cases you find that the methods they use to determine the ranking is very subjective, because it is based on what they ask respondents.
Yeah.
That in your view, who is the best member of parliament, or who is the best senator, or who is the best governor. But I think that should not be the case. I think they need to look at the work of a member of parliament or a senator in parliament. And you know, the work of a member of parliament is threefold. We have what he does outside parliament. What he does inside parliament is in two folds. Number one is what he does in parliamentary committees. And number two is what he does on the plenary.
Yeah.
You know, as the tradition of parliament, 80% of the work of a member of parliament is done within the committees in parliament. That is where a lot of work is done, and that is where the real work of parliament happens. The plenary is just to communicate the output of what has been done in committees.
Yeah.
So I would wish that the pollsters considered digging deep into what members do in their respective committees, rather than just picking what people say on the floor.
But this is also just coming a day after your governor was ranked number 23. Wilbur Tichilo, that's Vihiga, at 56% approval rating. Is that a fair approval rating?
That's why I was explaining. I think objectivity will matter a lot.
So your work as legislators would be then in the Senate, like you say, but is it fair to rank governor based on what the people say on the ground?
Well, what people say is very important. Yeah. But also, I think it's important for them to rank governors based on specific performance of various sectors, like in agriculture. What are people feeling about agriculture in the county? What are people feeling about provision of water? What are people feeling about road network? Then all those variables should inform who is, how the governors are going to be ranked. But just asking people on the streets or making telephone calls and asking them who is the best governor may not bring out the picture.
So it's too subjective.
Yes, it will tell you the popularity of that person, but it won't, in terms of work performance, it may not be very accurate. Okay. And that's why I'm saying for members of parliament, I think it's important for the pollsters to dig deep into what they do in committees, which is the most important, and they can easily do that. They request for the Hansard to check the Hansard, and they also look at what they do within the plenary, and even that has also to do with the quality of what they do. Because I know there are people in parliament who specialize in point of orders, just to be seen to have talked in parliament. So they will rise on frivolous point of orders to talk about anything, but when it comes to the substantiveness of what they say or what they do on the floor, that is what it matters. So I think the pollsters, for them to be very fair to all members of parliament or senators, they need to dig deep into what we do, not just on the floor, but in committees, and also what we do outside the chamber. So three variables should inform the ranking.
Let me bring in Honorable John Newtu here. John Newtu is actually ranked number 5 as a senator, and your governor was ranked number 4 at 64%. Do you agree with this rating?
Well, thank you, Trevor, and good morning to all the viewers. I may not want to cast aspersions as to the accuracy or otherwise of this poll. And because I'm one of the people that appear there tie at number 5 with Senator Medu, probably if I say that the poll is accurate, people may think that I'm saying that because maybe I appear there. But I want to believe that the pollsters did what they do. I've checked, I've looked at the story. Unfortunately, they have not listed the parameters that they were using on making this analysis. But I think because Infotrack is a renowned poll agency, and so allow me, Trevor, not to commit the accuracy or otherwise of the same, because I do not know the parameters they used. But yes, I think I'm doing a good job, and I think Murang'a people may agree with this poll. I'm doing a good job, and I thank God for everything.
Senator Eddie, you're not one of the senators who are ranked here, but your county was ranked almost bottom in terms of performance. That is on the governor's side.
Yeah, I think that, first of all, let me say good morning to Kenyans who are watching us this morning, and also wish them well in their day's program. We're going towards the end of the week with a very prominent visitor in the country.
We'll talk about that in just a minute.
We'll talk about. Yes. But I think that, I think most of the things that my colleagues have talked about, that is Senator Osotsi and Senator Joe are actually right, in the sense that we definitely appreciate polls, because polls are, it's a checkpoint. It helps us be able to reflect on how we'll be able to perform and how we are performing. But I think that it's so critical that our polls start being more adventurous and more sophisticated. Because I don't think that the idea of polls is just to rank people for the sake of it, but it's also to give feedback, not only to legislators and people who are elected, but also to the country and even to the polls themselves. And therefore, the most critical thing here is always the parameters. What are you looking at when you are looking at performance of members of parliament, for instance? That is both Senate and National Assembly. Because there are a number of things that these people do, that the poll should not only be about ranking them, but also giving them feedback on the areas perhaps that they're focusing on that are important and those that are not important. So, for instance, I would want to interact with the entire report as a feedback check. Because, for instance, if people are listed here what is the quality debate that they bring in the House? Number two, what are the number of bills that people are bringing in the House, and what are those bills focused on in terms of transformation? What are the kind of statements that are brought in the House? What are the number of motions that are brought in the House by the same people? And as Senator Osotsi had talked about, the time people spend in committees, and the quality of interrogations, investigations, and accountability and oversight held on different state organs as well as different counties in the committees will be very critical. So perhaps once I interact with the entire contents of the poll, I will be able to give a more robust feedback. But if these were not, comprehensively captured, the finest work that people do in Parliament, then perhaps this also will be a feedback to the poll agencies to be able to start considering the kind of depth that they're looking at, both within the presence of Parliament and outside. The work that we do in Parliament, which includes representation at the grassroots levels, the initiative people are doing in the grassroots levels, and also, of course, the voice of the people is always supreme when it comes to this kind of ratings. Okay.
Honorable Ruku, do you agree with these poll stars and their ratings? It is not for the members of Parliament so far, but we've seen governors and senators.
Yes, in the past also the members of Parliament have been rated. Mumsarendo Trust is one of those trusts which work in Parliament. And
they rated you among the top performers.
Yes, as well as also the rated senators. And they use facts, from the assent. And also there are other polls which came out a few weeks ago or 1 month ago. So I think a nation cannot have such kind of end reign just because of fake things. I think there is truth as far as the polls are concerned. And it's all about your work in the House as well as how you are able to interact with your people, the people you represent. In this case, the counties, So I think, of course, all polls, they have margin of error. And mostly it's -5 or +5 as a margin of error. So they did have representation of what the people of your county thinks as far as representing them on the county matters as well as in the national matters. So I think it's a fair representation. It's a fair, show of the status of things as far as each and every senator is concerned and each and every women rep is concerned. So I would not want to cast aspersions saying that it's not good work. I think Infrastructure is a serious company. It has been there. Though it missed quite a lot in the past 2 general elections, as far as trying to see the rating of who is the front runner in the presidential elections. We saw them missing in a big margin for 2022 general elections as well as for 2017 general elections. But fairly, they were almost showing the things the way they are on the ground.
Is that where the problem is, that most of this is subjective and people's opinion can change within even a week?
Yes, 1 week in politics is a very long period of time. Things can change in a serious way. But for the general election, we have seen Infrastructure as well as other pollsters in the country missing with great margins as far as predicting who is the most popular candidate, presidential candidate. So true, there is margin of error. And mostly margin of error is -5 or +5.
I think what I want to say is the kind of vibrancy and the kind of detail that we see in some polling agencies, even in the United States and America, is what our polling agents should be able to look at. There is something called opinion poll. That is what people think about you, which and then there is something called rating. So when you're rating, you need to not only look at people's opinion, but also the quality of work that is being done. That is why, as a polling agency, you are a research institution. And surely you can't say that your research stops at only looking at, have asked a few questions from people, but also going in depth. That's why, as Ruku was saying, you know, when Muzalendo Trust did their rating, they did it based on one parameter. We are going to Parliament, we are going to do research in terms of what is the activity level of members of Parliament. And then they go into things like where is the answered, and how many times has somebody spoken on what issue is this senator or this member of Parliament passionate about, and what agenda is this senator or this member of Parliament pushing. You see, those parameters tend to be more research-oriented. And I think that because we are not in an election mode, electioneering period, I think that it's very important that poll agencies do more than just opinion research. They should do more into research in terms of work and content and substance of what they are rating. Okay. That would be better.
All right. In that case, let's take a quick break here. When we come back now, we talk about King Charles III, historic visit to Kenya. He's off to Mombasa today after city tours here, but are people satisfied with his tour so far? There are those who are demanding an apology. There are those who are demanding a bit of compensation. How does that work? In just a bit. But I'll also send in your views at Trevor Mbija at Citizen TV Kenya. Use the hashtag Daybreak. We'll also talk about the bipartisan talks continuing right now. They're in the home stretch. They're supposed to give their reports at the end of this month to the principals before it is brought to the National Assembly. All right? See you in just a bit.